Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shereen Bhan. There's a lot we're tracking for you tonight. Wipro and Tech Mahindra report disappointing earnings to cap up a dismal quarter for Indian IT companies. Wipro warns of negative growth in the first quarter of the fiscal. Tech Mahindra's deal wins the lowest in over 2 years. Hindustan Unilever misses the mark on almost all parameters, even as revenue grows at 10%. Margins take a hit, volume growth drops to 4%. In his last quarterly earnings as CEO, Sanjeev Mehta says HUL is done with price hikes and expects volumes to recover. Godrej Consumer inks a deal to acquire Raymond's FMCG business. The deal includes brands like Park Avenue and Kama Sutra, which will enhance Godrej's presence into deodorants and sexual wellness categories. Facebook's parent company Meta reports revenue growth after declining for 3 straight quarters. Chinese retailers helped lift Meta's sales. Samsung's quarterly profits down 95% to the lowest level in more than a decade. Economic growth in the U.S. slows to 1.1% in the first quarter of 2023, missing expectations. High interest rates and inflation seen as the key factors for the slowdown. Experts expect the GDP to decelerate further. Popular TV shows like Succession, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones are set to return to India. Reuters reports that Warner Brothers and Reliance-owned Viacom18 have signed a multi-year agreement, making Jio Cinema the home for HBO content in India. Etihad Airways completes 20 years of operations in India. The airline CEO says this will be the third largest aviation market in over 2 years. He expects 20% growth in India by next year. Electric Vehicle Manufacturers Association shoots off a letter to the Parliamentary Standing Committee, claims the Heavy Industry Ministry has missed the incentive target by 50%, alleges the ministry has most incongruously and patently disingenuously included sales of EVs it has not funded. Students from 36 Indian law schools call the Bar Council's opposition to same-sex marriage ignorant, regressive, harmful and against the Constitution. The Supreme Court asked the government to respond within a week if social benefits can be extended to couples without marital status. PT Usha, the head of the Indian Olympic Association and Rajya Sabha MP nominated by the BJP, says the wrestlers protesting on the streets of Delhi amounts to indiscipline. This even as Olympic champion Abhinav Bindra and several sports stars back the wrestlers who are accusing the Wrestling Federation president Brij Bhushan Singh of sexual harassment. The Disney versus DeSantis fight intensifies. Disney World sues the Florida governor Ron DeSantis over the takeover of its theme park district, alleges Disney is being targeted for speaking against banning classroom lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity in early grades. Also on the show, unseasonal rains hurt wheat sales in Madhya Pradesh. Even the higher MSP offered by the government is not enough to cover losses, say distressed farmers. A special report coming up. Well, the Lal Street ending the day at over 2-month highs. The Nifty and the Sensex gained over 0.5%. The Nifty rising above the 17,900 mark. Mid-caps and banks rising in line with blue chips. For the April series, Nifty rose 5%, while the Nifty Bank rallied 8%. Now, this has been the best series for the markets since October of last year. On to key economic data that's moving markets worldwide. The U.S. economy grew by 1.1% in the first quarter, which is slower than what was estimated on the back of rising inflation and higher interest rates. U.S. price index is at 4%. That's 0.5% higher than estimates, but some relief when it comes to jobs data. The data for the week ending April 2023 is at 2.3 lakh as against 2.46 lakh in the previous week. Crude oil prices remain on a tight leash, with Brent hovering below the $80 mark overnight. There was a sharp fall in prices of around 4% after the consumer confidence in the U.S. hit a 9-month low. There was a marginal recovery in early trade due to falling U.S. inventories and hopes of higher demand from China. The big story tonight is from Earnings Corner, and it's been a dismal Q4 for Indian IT companies. Wipro and Tech Mahindra posting earnings that have missed estimates, capping a quarter where all Indian companies struggled as clients cut back on discretionary spending. Wipro warning that growth is likely to contract in the first quarter of this financial year as well. Tech Mahindra managed to report a marginal revenue growth of 0.3%, but deal wins have been the lowest seen in the last 9 quarters. Now, before we bring you the IT report card, here are the Wipro and Tech Mahindra managements on the reasons behind a difficult Q4.
Looking ahead, we believe the macro environment will remain challenging. Our clients, our industry, many sectors are impacted by the prolonged uncertainty in the economic environment. These headwinds are impacting our business and projections as well. For the next quarter, we are giving a sequential guidance of -3% to -1% in constant currency.
All 5 large-cap IT companies have now reported their numbers, and the report card does not look very good. 3 out of the 5 IT companies have actually reported a decline in their top line this time. The 2 numbers which have just come out, Wipro and Tech Mahindra. So let me start with Wipro. Wipro has clocked in a revenue decline of 0.6% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. But the bigger miss is in their June quarter guidance, Q1 FY24, where they're saying the growth will either contract by 3% or contract by 1%. So in the best case, Wipro is expecting a contraction of 1% in the top line, much worse than the 0.6% contraction that they had in the prior quarter. So even as the Q1 guidance is a howler and much lower than consensus expectations, the company has gone ahead and announced a buyback of 12,000 crore, tender buyback at a price of 445 rupees per share, a 19% premium to where the stock closed, and that could allay some nerves. Let me move on to Tech Mahindra. For Tech Mahindra, the revenue growth has come in at 0.3%. So it's good, at least they have a growth, because Tech Mahindra and TCS are the only 2 large cap IT companies which have managed to grow the top line this quarter. But the margins have come in as a big miss. Their EBIT margins reported at 9.6%, the lowest in the last 23 quarters. But this is on account of an impairment charge on one of the carrying values of their older platforms. You strip that out, margins are at 11.2%, but still down 80 basis points on a quarter-on-quarter basis. And deal wins too have moderated. Deal wins for Tech Mahindra were in a range of $700 million to $1 billion, but this quarter it's fallen by 26% to $592 million.
All right, Rima, thanks very much. That caps up a challenging Q4 for Indian IT companies. But when we talk about big global tech earnings, Facebook's parent, Meta, has beaten Wall Street expectations in the March quarter. The company's revenues rose to $28.6 billion after declining for 3 straight quarters. CEO Zuckerberg says more job cuts will hit the business in May. Meta plans to resume hiring, but also expects a 1 to 2% growth in headcount in 2024. Samsung's profits are down 95% to its lowest level since 2009 as the demand for chips remains weak. The South Korean company has posted revenues of about $47.6 billion. That's down 18% on a yearly basis. This is on par with Samsung's own estimates. The company is hopeful of a recovery in the second half of the year. Chinese electric car maker BYD posted a 5-fold jump in its first quarter profit to nearly $600 million. Revenue grew nearly 80% after the company sold nearly 2 million vehicles in 2022, mostly in China. Back home, FMCG major Hindustan Unilever missed the mark on all parameters, even as its revenue grew 10%. Margins took a hit, volume growth dropped to 4%. In his last quarterly earnings as CEO, Sanjeev Mehta said that HUL is done with price hikes and that volumes are expected to recover.
Commodity prices have started moderating. That means we have stopped taking more price increase at an aggregate level. There are some commodities where the price increase is still there, but in many we have taken a price reduction. The rural incomes are much lower on an average basis. The commodity prices have been very high. But if things stabilize and the prices go down, we will pass on the benefits to the consumers and we should start seeing the volume improving.
Well, that is Sanjeev Mehta, the last quarter under his watch as CEO. Back home, Axis Bank reporting a net loss of over 5,700 crore rupees in Q4. Net interest income rose by 33% on a yearly basis. Meanwhile, the bank's asset quality has improved versus Q3. Ritu standing by with the details. Ritu, better than expectations.
Well, as far as Axis Bank's fourth quarter numbers are concerned, it was a mixed bag, but you have to keep in mind this is an exceptional quarter for the bank because provisions of almost 11,600 crores on account of the acquisition of Citi's consumer portfolio in India weighed on the earnings of the bank, and therefore you saw Axis Bank post a net loss of about 5,728 crores. This is actually better than what our poll had estimated, and this is largely because of that Citi acquisition I just spoke about. Excluding this exceptional item, Axis Bank would have posted a profit of 6,625 crores, which would have been up 61% compared to the previous year. Margins, again, under pressure because of this acquisition cost as well, now at 4.22% for the quarter compared to 4.26% in the previous quarter. Net interest income, which is a core income for the bank, that was strong, grew by about 33% over the previous year. Advances growth of 19% over the previous year, and a domestic loan book growth of 23% YOY. Again, this includes the impact of the Citi acquisition. They've acquired the loan portfolio as well. Deposits were up about 15% for Axis Bank. Asset quality improved in terms of the ratio. So you saw the gross NPA coming down to 2.02%, net NPA at 0.39% for the quarter. Slippages was marginally higher at 3,375 crores. Again, this includes some of the NPAs which were acquired from the Citi portfolio. Recoveries and upgrades during the quarter at 2,699 crores. And the bank also wrote off NPAs of about 2,400 crores during the quarter. Provisions were 306 crores, and specific loan loss provisions stood at 270 crores for the quarter for Axis Bank.
Ritu, many thanks. That's Axis Bank for you. Now, popular TV shows and films like Succession, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings could return to India soon. This according to a Reuters report that says that Reliance-owned Viacom18 has signed a multi-year streaming agreement with Warner Brothers. The partnership, which is expected to start next month, will make Jio Cinemas app the home for HBO and Warner Brothers content in India. Now, Disney World has sued Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over his takeover of its theme park district. The fight began last year after Disney publicly opposed a state law that bans classrooms lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity in early grades. DeSantis, who's a Republican, took over Disney World's self-governing district and appointed a new board of supervisors. Disney's lawsuit says it is a targeted campaign by DeSantis as punishment for Disney's protected speech. Well, a CNBC-TV18 news break confirmed Godrej Consumer has inked a deal to acquire Raymond's FMCG business. The deal is worth over 2,800 crore rupees and will go through by the 10th of May. It's expected to enhance Godrej Consumer's presence in the deodorant and sexual wellness categories. Shilpa joins us now with the details. Shilpa, take us through the contours of this deal.
Well, as we reported earlier in the day, Godrej Consumer Products has announced that it will buy Raymond's FMCG business, the Raymond Consumer Care, by way of a slump sale for 2,825 crore rupees. Now, this deal includes Raymond Consumer also selling its trademarks of its brands Park Avenue, just the FMCG bit of that, KS, Kama Sutra and Premium to GCPL. Now, the company has retained its Raymond brand of fragrances. Now, this deal will not only strengthen GCPL's presence in the men's grooming space, it will also give it a foray into fragrances and sexual wellness categories, which Godrej has said increases its total addressable market for GCPL in two very fast-growing categories. Now, from Raymond, this wasn't the only announcement today. The group also announced a demerger as well. Now, Raymond Limited, the group company, will demerge the lifestyle business into Raymond Consumer Care to create a separate listed entity that will entirely be focused on the lifestyle business. And post-completion of this scheme, the group will have two listed entities. Raymond Limited, that is focused entirely on real estate, and Raymond Consumer Care, which will operate the suiting, B2C shirting, branded apparel businesses. Now, remember, Raymond Consumer is majorly owned by the promoter and Raymond Limited, and the promoter will deploy the entire proceeds of this transaction of the FMCG sale into the lifestyle business. This, the company has said, will enable the lifestyle business to become net debt free, and at a group level, it said it also allows the company better governance. Now, earlier in the day, my colleague Yash Jain also questioned the management of Raymond on the rationale behind the valuation during the press conference. Take a look.
At the Raymond Group, we believe very strongly in managing and nurturing our business. And in our demonstrated performance, every single business, we have demonstrated growth, margin improvement, and that reflects in the value creation of our business.
Would you say it's a good deal for Godrej Consumer or a good deal for you?
Nobody does a deal if it's not good for it. Okay? You must look at a win-win. 100 rupees in your hand has a different value than 100 rupees in my hand. Should I have got 300 crores more? Yes, I could have got 300 crores more. But by getting 300 crores less and getting the deal done, see what I will achieve on the demerger. If I get that done, I won't make 300, I'll make 500 crores more. From their point of view, you might think they've overpaid, but they are smart business people. They know what the potential is. Sometimes you don't pay for the product, you pay for the potential. And if they just take it and plug it into their system, they have a growth plan. And they're very smart people, they've done extremely well, I know them extremely well. So I think this is genuinely one of, and I passionately say it, genuinely a fantastic win-win deal.
Well, that is the CNBC-TV18 news break that is now confirmed. Now, reeling under financial stress due to non-disbursement of FAME subsidies over 15 months, electric vehicle makers have hit out at the Department of Heavy Industries. The association has questioned the claims of the government on the number of vehicles subsidized. The industry body has said that while the government claims 9.6 lakh vehicles have been subsidized, in reality, subsidies have been withheld for 50% of electric vehicles sold for over 12 months. Parikshit is standing by with the details. Parikshit, the government saying, look, we are not subsidizing because there have been violations with policy. Industry saying you haven't subsidized and are claiming a higher number.
Well, you're clearly seeing the government, the nodal ministry for the automotive industry, that is the Department of Heavy Industries, and the electric vehicle industry body, SMEV, at loggerheads with each other. SMEV is directly questioning the claims of the Heavy Industries Ministry on 10 lakh electric vehicles having been subsidized by the government under the FAME scheme. SMEV is asking, how is it possible that on your website you're saying that 9.6 lakh vehicles have been subsidized, but actually there are 4.6 lakh vehicles which have been sold without subsidies, and majority of the OEMs have been waiting for the subsidies to be disbursed for over 12 months now. This has created financial stress for the companies, and very recently, in March 2023, the government has gone ahead and stopped subsidies for 4 more OEMs on pricing issues, such as Ather, such as TVS Motor Company, Ola Electric, and Hero Motorcorp. So, in a way, you've stopped subsidies for almost 95% of the companies in the EV ecosystem. So, you found everyone deficient. So, how do you really expect the EV ecosystem to take off? So, very strong claims there by the Society of Electric Vehicle Manufacturers. But remember, there are companies like Hero Electric, Okinawa, and 13 of them in total who've had their subsidies stopped. We have been reporting on how some of them are looking at stake sales, and here they are directly questioning the claims of the government that please come clean on whether you've actually given subsidies for 10 lakh vehicles or not, or you've missed your targets by 50%.
36 Indian law schools have written an open letter against the Bar Council urging the Supreme Court to leave the issue of same-sex marriage to Parliament. The Bar Council, which consists of 15 men, said in a statement that it would be catastrophic to overhaul something as fundamental as the conception of marriage by the court. In response, the LGBTQIA collective at 36 law schools have released a strongly worded statement opposing the Bar Council's stance, calling it, and I quote, ignorant, regressive, harmful, and against the Constitution and the spirit of inclusive social life. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has concluded day 6 of its hearings in petitions to legalize same-sex marriage. The centre said that the right to love and live together is a fundamental right, but the right to seek legal recognition of union is not. The top court said that if the centre admits that right to live together is a fundamental right, then it is the duty of the state that the societal impact of cohabitation is recognised. The Supreme Court has asked the government to respond within a week of social benefits can be extended to couples without marital status. Indian wrestlers continue protesting against Wrestling Federation Chief Brij Bhushan Singh in Delhi. Olympic champion Abhinav Bindra and other sports stars have lent their support. The National Commission for Women has sought an action report from the Delhi Police Commission on the complaint filed by wrestlers. Brij Bhushan Singh has said that he will fight to prove his innocence. The Indian Olympic Association Chief PT Usha has criticised the public protests by wrestlers. The government has begun procuring this year's Rabi harvest of wheat in the last week of March, but this year's season is not going well for the wheat farmers of Madhya Pradesh. Santiagura reports that despite a higher minimum support price, government procurement is not much help, and losses from crashing open market prices are hurting.
Chanderi village, situated in Madhya Pradesh's Sihor district, is 30 kilometers from Bhopal and is home to Reshambai Mewada and her daughter-in-law Sunita Mewada. Both ladies are busy threshing the 250 quintals of wheat their family has harvested from their 10 acres of fields to take to market. But they are worried about how much this harvest will fetch them.
हाँ तो अपने बहुत ही घाटा जाएगा, कितना घाटा जाएगा, कम भाव मिलेगा तो घाटा जाएगा, अब अच्छा कम हो जाता तो घाटा जाता ही नहीं, पिछले साल तो बढ़िया हो, अब फिर मावट ने सब आड़ा कर दिया, तो गेहूं बहुत ही पतला रहेगा.
Low prices because of poor crop quality is not their only problem. Many farmers in the area say unseasonal rains have meant the quantity of their harvest has also dropped significantly, which will mean lower income.
पिछले साल से कम गेहूं 50% कम हुए. इस बार ओलावृष्टि और गेहूं चौपट आड़े होने की वजह से गेहूं पतले पड़ गए, छोटे पड़ गए और जो कुछ गेहूं कटाई हो गई थी उसमें सफ़ेद दाना हो गया. सफ़ेद दाना हो गया तो उसका रेट सही नहीं मिल पा रहा मंडी में, तो इसलिए उसको मजबूरी में सहकारिता में उसको बेचना पड़ रहा है.
The government's wheat procurement drive, which started towards the end of March, is offering some relief. The government has hiked minimum support price for wheat from 2,015 rupees per quintal or 20 rupees and 15 paisa per kilogram to 2,125 rupees per quintal or 21 rupees and 25 paisa per kilogram. However, there's a catch. The government's procurement policy caps the amount of wheat it can buy at 18 quintals per acre. This means that any grain left over will have to be sold in the open market, where average prices range between 1,300 to 1,800 rupees per quintal.
मैम उसकी लिमिट है 18 एक एकड़ में 18 कुंटल. अब उससे क्या ओवर हो जाता है तो फिर कहाँ बेचे. 18 जैसे 5 एकड़ का खाता है तो 90 कुंटल तुलेगा. अब 100 कुंटल होगा तो उसको तो यहीं लाके बेचना पड़ेगा.
पैदावार में भी पड़ा है, कलर पे भी खराब हो गया है, इसलिए मतलब मंडी में तो कम रेट है, गवर्नमेंट के रेट से दे रहे हैं हम इसको.
मैम नुकसान तो देखिए, अगर एकड़ के हिसाब से देखा जाए तो हमें 2 से 3 कुंटल पर एकड़ पे नुकसान लगभग हुआ है. और मंडी रेट में हमें उम्मीद थी कि सोसाइटी रेट से अच्छे रेट होंगे, लेकिन वहाँ बहुत डाउन चल रहा है. 200-250 रुपये कुंटल का फर्क आ रहा है.
The other pain point is that Food Corporation of India has slashed its wheat procurement targets for 2023. It aims to buy just 34.15 million tons this year, 22% lower than the 44 million tons it procured in 2022.
The government has, discontinued one part of the free food distribution, right? And that we believe is going to reduce the requirement of wheat to the tune of about 8 to 10 million metric tons, which is what gives the government some comfort to reduce the procurement targets by FCI.
Experts also point out that as of mid-April, the FCI has only procured 4.17 million tons of wheat, which is just 12% of its full-year target. This could help wheat farmers in Punjab and Haryana, who are traditionally the second largest contributors to wheat stock after MP. According to CRISIL Market Intelligence and Analytics, MP has contributed to 56% of overall procurement so far this year, against Punjab's 26% and Haryana's 17%. But even with Food Corporation's assistance, wheat farmers in Madhya Pradesh are in a tight spot. The money usually comes in 3 weeks after delivery, and till then, farmers have to pay for labor and other expenses out of pocket. That's not all.
Last year, the heat wave damaged the wheat crop and hurt farmers' negotiation power. This time, unseasonal rains have done the same thing, but there was a saving grace last year. An early harvest meant losses for MP's farmers was limited, but they don't have that safety net this time around. The government's procurement program is providing some relief, but even that is limited because there are caps to how much can be procured per acre of crop. In Bhopal, with camera person Bharat Kori, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
Well, that is the first in our series, What's Ailing Rural India. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.